in a move that is going to make peace a lot harder, Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government has rejected Donald Trump's peace offer to Hamas, and Hamas had already accepted it, but Israel says no to peace. Now I'm going to break down what Trump said, what Netanyahu said, which is basically an open-handed slap. But Bassem, real quick up front, I know you must be shocked that Israel has rejected peace.
Oh, of course, I'm shocked. I mean, I don't know why I would even give any kind of importance to these kind of statements or these kind of events. Like, oh, Trump is offering peace, and then I think it's all it's a game. It's a game. Nobody really believes that anymore. I think they're just buying time in order to strike again and to hit again. They did that with Iran many times. They go into a peace process and then they would bomb them. They would bomb Qatar, who are like the intermediates. Israel doesn't want peace. And today, actually, it's mentioned today, I guess, in the Jerusalem Post, I think they have a headlines where like, it doesn't matter that we have peace with our neighbors. They are just secretly planning to have war with us. And they're talking about Turkey, Jordan, and Egypt. So these people I'm just like, I don't know, it's theatrics, and I don't know why we even waste time on them.
Yeah, well, that's actually a really interesting point that I want to discuss a little bit more in a second. Let me tell everybody what Trump said, because I thought that there was a 1% chance that it was encouraging. We'll see if that 1% was justified or not. And then what Netanyahu said in return. So Trump said, today the Board of Peace reached a historic agreement for the complete disarmament of Hamas and all other armed groups in Gaza. The other armed groups are actually very relevant. We'll come back to that too. This is a monumental step toward lasting peace and security. He said the agreement will be carried out in carefully structured phases, which actually makes sense. As disarmament is completed, Israeli forces will withdraw, and the International Stabilization Force will work with a new Palestinian police force to take responsibility for Gaza being safe for its residents and its neighbors. This is actually a logical plan. That's why both sides, America and Hamas, has agreed to this. The one, of course, stumbling block is always Israel, because they never want peace. But here, Hamas is saying, look, well, let's do it in parts. We disarm, they withdraw, we disarm, they withdraw. We hand it over to an international force. Makes perfect sense. Well, here comes, the Israelis to screw that up. NPR First says it's envisioned Israel's withdrawal from Gaza and Hamas's disarmament as part of a phased process, rather than requiring Hamas to fully disarm before Israeli forces began pulling back. And that makes sense. Part of the reason Trump mentioned those other armed groups is there's armed militias working on behalf of Israel inside Gaza. So if Hamas gives up all of their weapons first, as Israel wants, gets no concessions back, and not even disarming the Israeli-backed militias, then they'll be at the mercy of those militias. So that is a totally undoable ask, and they would never agree to it. It would basically be a death sentence for them. And then Israel would get to run Gaza completely, and having done absolutely nothing in return. So that's unreasonable. That's why Benjamin Netanyahu doubled down on it. First, watch him speaking in Hebrew, whenever he wants to hide something. It's got the subtitles, and then for our audio audience, I'll read it as well.
באשר לרצועת עזה, קודם כל אני רוצה להבהיר את הדבר העיקרי. כל עוד אני ראש ממשלה, לא תקום מדינה פלסטינית. לא בעזה ולא ביו"ש. לא פתחסטן ולא חמאסטן. ובאשר לדברים ספציפיים שעולים בחדשות לאחרונה, אני רוצה לדייק כאן. ישראל שוללת את מסמך 15 הנקודות. שמעתי שאומרים, לא אמרתם, אמרנו, אבל הנה אני אומר עוד פעם, ישראל שוללת את מספר 15 הנקודות. צה"ל לא יבצע נסיגה כלשהי עד פירוק החמאס מנשקו. וכשאני אומר פירוק החמאס מנשקו, זה אומר הנשק הכבד, הנשק הפחות כבד, והנשק הקל, כל הנשק, ואנחנו מדברים על פירוק אמיתי, לא פירוק פיקטיבי.
That's basically saying to Trump, that's an open-handed slap, boy. What are you going to do about that? Are you going to sit there and bleed all day, or are you going to do something? Yeah, Bassem.
I disagree. I disagree. I don't think it's an open slap. I think they want you to believe that they are in disagreement. They want you to believe it's like, oh, Trump said this and Netanyahu said no. It's like, oh my God, look, this. I mean, are we playing this game again? Are we playing this game again? Do you remember guys like Joe Biden and everything? Oh, we're gonna withhold arms for Israel. We're gonna not send any more weapons. Like, oh, Joe Biden is anti-Semitic. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then Joe Biden will send the weapons and then things. And then they even called Trump, if you remember, many times during this couple of years, anti-Semitic, and you hate the Jews. And then Trump will say like, we'll be tough on Netanyahu. It's all an act. It's all an act. And at the end of the day, this is just like, this has been happening even before 1948. And I remember quite well when I studied this, it's like how at the beginning at 1948, when the Arabs came in and they kind of like gained ground, and then they, okay, well, let's have truce. And then they used the truce in order to get more weapons, and then to kill the Arabs and Palestinians. So I just like, it's not an open hand slap. It's not an insult to Trump. It's not like Israel disrespecting Trump. It's all an act. And I just like don't buy it for 1 second.
So So I hear you on the general point, and it's a point we make all the time, and then Axios comes in, and they did in this case too, and there was a lot of finger wagging and strongly worded letters and phone calls. You're totally right about that. But in this one, there's a little bit more nuance. So let me read what Netanyahu said in English and why I say it's an open-handed slap. So he said, as long as I'm prime minister, a Palestinian state will not be established. So that's very definitive, of course, never covered by the American press. Neither in Gaza nor in Judea and Samaria, that's the West Bank. So he's saying, no, we're gonna give the Palestinians absolutely nothing and try to enslave them for the rest of time. He said neither Fatahstan or Hamastan. Hamas is obviously in Gaza. Fatah is in the West Bank. So he's saying, even though Fatah did not attack us, we're never gonna give them freedom anyway. He says, regarding specific matters surfacing in the news lately, I wish to be precise here. Israel does not accept the 15-point document. The IDF will not carry out any withdrawal until Hamas is disarmed. And when I say the disarming of Hamas, it means heavy weaponry, light weaponry, and all weaponry. And we're talking about genuine disarmament, not fictitious disarmament. Picture this, it's 1 a.m., you tell yourself just one more scroll through social media, and suddenly you're spiraling over the latest political dumpster fire. That spiral doesn't just exhaust your mind, it actually spikes your internal body temperature. And when your body stays hot, you can never hit that deep restorative sleep. So the fix, it's not a meditation app, it's your bed temperature. Enter ChiliPad 2.0. It's a water-based mattress topper that gives you total climate control from 55 to 115 degrees. No new mattress, no hassle. It fits right on top, and water is the game changer. A fan just stirs hot air around. ChiliPad uses actively chilled water to pull heat away from your body like a heat exchanger. The new 2.0 has a quieter dock, a washable cover, and a remote that senses when you climb in and fires up your sleep schedule automatically. Sharing the bed? Dual zones let each side pick their own temperature. No subscription, no hidden fees, 2-year warranty, made right here in the USA. Visit www.sleep.me/TYT to get up to $255 off your ChiliPad 2.0 with code TYT. That's www.sleep.me/TYT. Free shipping, free returns, and a 30-night trial. The headlines will still be there in the morning. You might as well wake up ready for them. So he's basically saying until we remove every rock and stick in Gaza, Israel's not gonna withdraw, because he said before very clearly, under no circumstances are they gonna withdraw. They have 70% of Gaza, and they're gonna try to keep it. They're gonna try to drive out all the Palestinians from the West Bank and try to keep it. But Bassem, normally the way that they do this is, well, we love Donald Trump and it's great honor to work with him and he's such a big brother to us, and his peace proposals are lovely and fantastic. We're waiting for the disarmament of Hamas and etc. Him saying, no, I reject his 15-point plan is a way of saying publicly, no, I'm against what Donald Trump is doing. Now, you could say that it's part of a coordinated back and forth, and it has been in the past, but why would Donald Trump agree to being slapped publicly and saying, no, I'm not gonna do your dumb peace plan. Shut up, little boy, because that's what Netanyahu is saying, and he's saying it publicly. So is Trump like, I guess, and it's a fair point if you say he's signed up for this humiliation ritual and likes it when Netanyahu slaps him around publicly, but that is definitely not hiding the ball. It's saying we're not gonna listen to America.
Sure, but like you're saying as if we didn't see this humiliation before. They humiliated him many times on Iran when he didn't want to strike, and then they would humiliate him until he would strike. Like, is this the first time that Netanyahu humiliated Trump, or humiliated America, or humiliated the American administration? It's again, it is a deja vu. It is this whole like back and forth, and then they give you the idea. It's like, oh, they're not in disagreement. You see, everybody who said like Trump is controlled by Netanyahu. See how Trump did this on his own, and then he's just like he's done, and then he folds. It is a game. It is a way to just like buy time. Trump proposes a peace deal, then Netanyahu says no, and then in the meantime, Israel just like bomb Gaza with everything they got, continue killing people every single day. Same thing on Lebanon. How many times did Trump say like enough, go back, enough hitting Lebanon, and then Netanyahu go hit it. I get it's not an open slap. It's not, and I think that we're just like reading too much into it, and I think they are just giving us this for us to have these like discussions. Oh, you think Trump is being humiliated by Netanyahu? He doesn't care. He doesn't care. This is all a game.
Now, let me back up Bassem's point, because as I mentioned earlier, usually Axios comes in and does a little bit of propaganda here, but sometimes it's accidentally revealing. So Barak Ravid wrote, a senior US official told me the White House is, quote, not bothered by Netanyahu's statement on the Gaza plan and sees it as part of the election season in Israel. Well, that seems to back up what Bassem's saying. He said, quote, we understand Bibi's political needs. We have no problem with it as long as he continues to do what we ask, especially regarding restraining attacks in Gaza, the US official said, except he hasn't done any of the things that you've asked. But that's interesting that the US government is saying, yeah, we don't mind the humiliation ritual. He tells us off publicly, and then we beg for forgiveness, and we go back to licking his boots. Then they have this piece of absurdity. Last week, Netanyahu spoke on the phone with President Trump's envoy, Jared Kushner, and promised to give the 15-point plan a chance. Come on. Despite his skepticism and curb attacks on Gaza, so the process of demilitarization of Gaza can begin, a US official said. Since then, Israel hasn't conducted attacks on Gaza, and the IDF is gradually moving back to the yellow line. That's not true at all. At the same time, the US and the mediators are demanding that Hamas begins disarming. So the first half backs you up, Bassem. This is all a play, and Trump doesn't mind being slapped around. He's kind of, I don't know if he's into it politically or also sexually. I don't know. Okay, but I don't care. But the second half says,
who's Barak Ravid? Who's Barak Ravid, anyways?
Barak Ravid is a former IDF intelligence agent. Exactly. So we're taking our sources, we're taking our stuff from there. They are making the news. They're telling us what the news should be. They show us what we think about the news. It's a closed system. Like you're quoting Axios, which is basically an Israeli psyop in itself. So we're listening to Trump. We're saying to Netanyahu. We're taking. What does that mean through their sources? Yeah, like we were really falling into the trap. I don't know. No, we're not falling into any trap. It's a good conversation. One last quote.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about like the public. You know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah. Well, they're not falling into the trap either anymore. Only mainstream media is. But all right, and last one's from Netanyahu's office. They say right now we're talking with the Americans about this issue. They have ideas, some of which are acceptable to us and some of which are unacceptable. And we know how to stand firm against these things. We have proven this in the past and we're proving it today as well. Furthermore, the IDF will continue to thwart threats against our forces and our citizens. So basically he's saying, the Americans have some ideas that are unacceptable, so we rejected them. Bassem, to a point where we have 100% agreement, what is this? So, okay, you don't agree with us and you're not gonna do anything we want, including the peace deal. So isn't there the super simple solution? We cut off all your funding until you find a way to accept it.
Oh my, I didn't know that you're very good at stand-up comedy. That is, how dare we cut the aid to our masters? Oh, come on. It's a freaking swamp, man. I say this on stage. So like I didn't believe that so many people left the Middle East to come to America, live the American dream, just to find out that they're still controlled by a country in the Middle East. It's crazy, man. I mean, I just did a video a couple of days ago. It's like I make it make sense. We are supposedly the superpower of the world, and every single candidate go on stage just so like I stand with Israel. I support Israel. Well, go and run for office in Israel.
Yeah.
It's a broken system, and I don't know. Like I don't know what to make of this. I don't even know if we should even take any of these news seriously or even discuss them seriously, because it doesn't make any sense anymore. It doesn't matter anymore.
So then I gotta ask you about what you think is actually gonna happen in the future in America, right? First of all, of course you're right. I mean, imagine if there was any candidate, let alone hundreds of candidates, who are like obsessed with Turkey. And they're like, we gotta make Turkey the best country, the regional superpower. And Turkey comes to me in my dreams. You'd be like,
Yeah.
what? Are you insane? Why does Turkey come to you in your dreams? What a bizarre thing, right? Oh, and they happen to be coincidentally totally financed to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars by the Turkish lobby. And the media is like, I can't connect the dots, right? So that's what's happening here. So we know, to your overall point, and one I agree with enthusiastically, we know that our politicians are corrupt and they work for Israel. 94% of them get money from Israel, they vote with Israel. And our media is corrupt and they do all these silly games of hiring former IDF agents to write all their stories about Israel and how we have a special ally and relationship and we need to be good boys and girls and listen to everything Israel says and shut up about it and give them all of our money and our military. But the American people have turned now, and about 2/3 of them are against it. So since Washington's not gonna budge at all, and now they're trying to merge our military technology, get even deeper into a relationship with Israel, and the American people can't stand it anymore and have realized, oh, the reason we never have peace, the reason we have endless wars in the Middle East is because Israel's making us do those wars. Those are all their neighbors that we're attacking on their behalf so they can take more of their land. So how does this movie end, Bassem?
Well, the movie ends in a very dystopian reality where everything that America has been making fun about, the third world countries where people are living under oppression, and they know that they're living under oppression and living low under dictatorship, but they can't do anything about it because anybody who will talk will be either put in jail or have his career end. And we see kind of a glimpse of that reality in America right now, because now we have many incidents where you have, if people criticize Israel, people criticize Zionism, criticize Netanyahu, they actually have their career ending. Now, if you go a little bit further and you start to protest, you're gonna get beaten up, being thrown out of college. So if you continue that trajectory, you will have a full-blown dystopian reality where people are afraid to speak, and if they do, they're going to be penalized, and the media will tell you everything, we're okay, we are the #1 free country in the world, we have freedom, and that will be the reality. We're heading to that. So people will be living knowing exactly who their overlords are, and then I'm not going to be too scared to speak about it. Exactly like what happens in a military dictatorship or a religious dictatorship, where everybody knows that it's not really a freedom, but we can't say anything about it. So I think we're heading towards that. I don't know how many years it's going to take. And it's scary to see this, but it's happening right now. You have Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, telling we are going to revoke anyone's visas coming to this country if they are critical of Israel. Yeah, we're seeing that already, and so yeah, I think this is the dystopian reality we're heading to.
Yeah, so it's hard to argue with that. I mean, obviously, Hassan Piker and I got banned from the United Kingdom for criticizing Israel, so our freedom of movement has been taken away from us. A portion of our freedom has. Hassan got banned from speaking at University of Washington just yesterday. We'll talk about that later in the show. I'm banned from all of cable news. So the oppression is. Do
you know what happened to me in the UK and Europe in my tour?
What happened?
So they didn't ban me, but they tried to ban me. The Zionist organizations, they tried to revoke the visa that I already got. And every single entry point in the UK or Schengen visa in Europe, I spent over an hour. And sometimes I would take it into secondary inspection, like a freaking terrorist, and I had an American passport.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, now an American passport doesn't mean anything. Either you're an Israeli or you're not. The Israelis get special privileges for everything, but you got an American passport in the West Bank or Gaza Strip, Israel will murder you in a second. And 10 Americans murdered in the last 3 years, and no one's even been arrested because they're spitting in our face. So look, I have a little bit more, by nature a little bit more optimistic than Bassem. I think America is a little bit different, and I think that people here are gonna rebel. They're gonna rebel against the system, and I hope it's a political rebellion. But either way, there's a rebellion coming because Americans are gonna sit there and be the dogs of another nation. And unfortunately, that has happened right underneath our nose for a long, long time. And as people are waking up to it, they are becoming furious about it, no matter how much mainstream media and our politicians lie. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.